Just a few.
All right, Chrissy, thank you very much. The president, by the way, returns from Turkey tonight, and lawmakers in Washington are looking forward to speaking to him once again on a variety of items. A lot going on in Washington, we don't need to tell you. Here to San Diego County is our local Republican Congressman, Issa, just back a couple days ago. Thank you, Congressman, for joining us, first of all.
Thanks for having me on.
All right, let's get right to it. First of all, I wanted to get your reactions on the president's tour of Europe over the last 10 days or so. What was your take on it as far as the mission, the message he was trying to get to the world about the U.S. and our role?
Well, I think the important thing is when a president makes their first trip abroad, that they be well briefed and they make no major mistakes. And if pushing around the Queen is the biggest mistake, then by and large, that's pretty minimal faux pas. And it appears as though that was probably the only news story coming out of this that had a little bit of a question on it.
And obviously, as a Republican, what was your take on the messages that the president was giving to other world leaders, given the fact that he said some of the relationships were strained over the last few years, and now he's trying to mend those relationships? Did he accomplish that? Is there anything that you saw that he shouldn't have said or he did say?
Well, I think the president, the message that things have been bad really is a domestic message. That was sending back to remind people that he replaced an unpopular president. In Europe, behind the scenes, President Bush had a good working relationship with many of these leaders. The President Obama is going to have to establish that same relationship, and no on-camera interview does that. It's really the one-on-one behind the scenes that hopefully he was able to build with Sarkozy and others, the kind of relationship that when he needs them to do something unpopular, they may be willing to do it.
Okay, let's talk a little bit now about recently some lawmakers are actually looking at pulling back on immigration enforcement. That's obviously a big issue for us here in San Diego. You've made your comments on this. Explain to people exactly what these lawmakers are trying to accomplish and your stand on this.
Well, they're trying to be reelected. This is purely a political statement. We're going to spend tens of millions of dollars explaining to the American people, and particularly to people, including illegals, including undocumented, that the census is not about collecting information on undocumented. It's not about law enforcement. That information will be used by nobody else but the Census Bureau. And so as people begin to realize that if you answer the question of are you here, yes or no, and what is your name, it doesn't go anywhere else, doesn't go to the IRS or the INS. We need to get that message across. Many people are using this for political opportunism to imply somehow that they're better on dealing with immigrants than others.
The same message was given in 2000, the last time we did the census, and a lot of folks didn't, quite frankly, didn't buy it when they were told this is just for statistical purposes, and they weren't buying it then. Are they going to buy it this year? What's the change? What's the difference?
Well, there's always been a concern about undercount. 50, 100 years ago, it was about immigrants living too many in a home. They'd be in an apartment that only allowed 4, and there'd be 16.
Right.
That's gone on with previous generations of immigrants. So there's always been some concern there may be an undercount. We're going to try and minimize that. But remember, the Constitution, the best number you have, it says you actually count. So it's not a debatable task that we have. We must enumerate, we must count, and any estimation is a violation of the Constitution.
Where do we stand? Let's switch topics a little bit, talk about the economy, obviously. Where do we stand on, obviously, this week while the president was in Europe, Chrysler, and they need to get that deal done with Fiat in 30 days. GM has 60 days to get it all done and organize or declare bankruptcy. Where do we stand with that and the impact it's going to have and basically the president's return to the U.S.? Where do we stand with the economy at this point? Have things gotten any better?
Well, the economy doesn't get better because you wish it better, and it doesn't get better because government spends a lot of money. Ultimately, the underpinnings of government are going to begin to get better when public confidence comes back and when some of the excesses of the last 10 years begin to wear off. We have too many new cars. We have too much debt. Both of those are going to have to correct. In the case of Chrysler, it's not a viable company. When it was spun off from Daimler, it was spun off, highly leveraged. So it does need to find a new arrangement, and it's not going to be with GM or Ford.
And you were talking about, there's some legislation you were thinking about introducing. It's kind of like a 9/11 type commission, if you will, to examine what went wrong. How is that going?
Well, if you remember, after 9/11, there was so much finger pointing that the Bush administration, rightfully so, said let's get blue ribbon, mostly retired people of great stature to independently look at the problems that led up to 9/11, the stovepiping and so on. And we did that, and the commission made a lot of good suggestions, most of which have been taken, and they've made America safer. We have the exact same situation on the economy. President Obama is relentless in saying it was all the previous 7 years. Candidly, I think that's short-sighted. So I've called for a commission. I've got legislation that's already been introduced, and we're beginning to build sponsorship for it, to set up a bipartisan, nonpartisan, if you will, commission so that we get past the political finger-pointing, because we don't want to be regulating in, I don't believe we should regulate in new regulations that are unrelated to the problem, nor should we ignore the fact that this problem was real and we can't let it happen again.
And will a commission like this just pinpoint what the problem was so it doesn't happen again? Will it help fix anything?
The 9/11 Commission not only looked at what caused the problem, but it made reasonable suggestions on things that could be changed, most of which were implemented.
All right. Congressman Darrell Issa, thank you so much. We know you get a little holiday break. You'll come back and talk about the commission?
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much. Right, Arthel?
All right, guys.